Hello，你好，Welcome back，欢迎回来 to Wisdom Wednesday with Johnny Tiger. Today's date is May 29, 2024. A lot of time we take for granted the kind of things we have nowadays. I mean, when the weather gets really hot, most of us can just open a fridge and pull out a bottle of beer or water or soda, and then we crack it open and we drink it down without a second thought. I mean, how many of us really stop and think about how amazing it is to be able to do that, right? In the old days, and not even all that long ago, I don't remember when was refrigerators invented here in the Western world, but in China and Taiwan, uh, you people didn't know about refrigerators until in around 1940s or thereabout. So before that, there was a quite a long period of time where people have no way of enjoying a cold drink without resorting to some rather extreme and creative means to do so. Now the interesting thing is, refrigeration and ice chest has been part of Chinese culture actually for a long, long, long time. In the old days, ice chests were designed kind of like coolers today. Like the ice coolers, ice chest, there's a lid on the top and it's really thick material. And usually there's another layer inside with blanket or cotton. And then you put ice in, you have to go buy ice every day from the vendor. And then you put ice in there and then you put your food and drink in there and then you keep it cold that way. If you ever have a chance to look at these old ice chests, the old fridge from Chinese people, you'll see that contrary to what we think, uh, most of us, if we were to design a cooler or a chest, would make sure that it is airtight, totally insulated. But contrary to that, a lot of their ice chests actually have small holes on the top, and that was for the cold air to be able to seep out and cool down your house as well. So that was like an improvised air conditioner for thousands of years. Very creative. Now, uh, since the end of the imperial era, so about 1912, 1910, when democracy came into China and then later becoming uh, communist, uh, these old form of ice chest had largely been faded out, mostly because most people couldn't afford them. China was going through a lot of hardship, war, and poverty and famine. Like people could barely have money to buy food. Who's going to be able to afford to buy ice or ice chest? So a lot of people didn't have ice chest for upward 30, 40 years. So there's a particular generation. Uh, you can say that my grandfather's generation, my grandparents' generation, that remembered a time when they were growing up without refrigeration at all and have to resort to very extreme ways to be able to enjoy a cold drink in the summer. So today we are going to talk about some of these, one of the more interesting ones that I have heard from the older generation, uh, and it's not something to be glorified, but it is kind of funny, and just to show us what lengths people would go to in the old days to be able to enjoy cold beer. Now, before we get into that, I want to quickly show you an interesting little vocabulary. This vocabulary is called 冰箱. 冰箱, B-I-N-G, S-H-U-N-G, 冰箱. 冰 means ice, 箱 means trunk. box, case. Okay, 冰箱, this means refrigerator uh, and freezer. Now, why is this particularly interesting? Because a lot of you guys may not know this, but Chinese language are very, very, very specific when it comes to two words, 箱, case, uh, trunk, uh, 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 storage unit, and then 柜, 柜, GWA, 柜, 柜 means chest, and uh, similar storage unit like a drawer or chest. Okay. Now, in English vocabulary, we hear trunk, we hear chest, we hear storage, we hear drawers, we hear uh, 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 cupboards, we hear case, all this stuff. And a lot of the time, it seems to be interchangeable, right? But in Mandarin language, xiang and gui are very, very specific. Okay, a lot of people, even Mandarin speaking people, don't know the distinction. So today I'm going to enlighten you a little bit. This is a little trivial Mandarin lesson. Okay, what is the difference? How do you tell if this is a xiang or if this is a gui? Okay, if it's open from the top, it's a xiang. Anything that open from the top is a xiang. Anything open from the side is a gui. Okay, Chinese people very specific about that. So if you think about most of the vocabularies in Chinese language, uh, like if the thing that the closet is called 衣柜, 柜, because it's you open it from the side, right? 衣 means clothes. The shoe cupboard, the shoe rack is called 鞋柜. Again, you open it from the side. It's called so it's a 柜, right? Um, a suitcase is called 皮箱. Okay, 箱 because you open the lid from the top, right? So a lot of people may think, okay, so why is 冰箱 a 箱? Because you always open the fridge from the side. You don't open it from the top. Well, it's because in the old days, as I mentioned, those old-fashioned Chinese ice chests, they were open from the top, just like coolers nowadays. That's why when refrigerator came into China, uh, and people saw this and they thought, oh, well, that's just like our 冰箱. It's just they open from the side. So they just keep calling it 冰箱, 冰箱. They didn't call it 冰柜. Okay, but that is something that's very interesting. Like if you look through the entire Chinese dictionary, you 冰箱 is probably the only container that's open from the side, and it's still called a 箱. Okay, any other thing that open from the side is called a 柜, and the thing that open on top is called a 箱. But 冰箱 is a one exception because of the different design from white people refrigerator and Chinese refrigerator. So let's start by looking at how difficult it was for people to buy beer back in the 30s and 40s, because most people, especially in China at the time, just at the end of the Second World War, after an 8 years long war against Japan, and then before that, a lot of civil wars, internal strifes, and conflict, people were at a really bad state. Most people's daily wage, most people's daily earning would be around 50 cents. Okay, 50 cents. A bottle of beer at the time was about 30 cents. If you bring the bottle back afterward, then you get 10 cents back. So which means you spend 20 cents for that bottle of beer. So you make 50 cents a day and you have like a bottle of beer, 20 cents. That that's like, crazy. That's crazy, right? Like that's like if you make $50 today and then you spend $20, $30 just for that one bottle of beer. don't forget, you still need money to eat and stuff like that on top of it. So it was not everyday thing that someone could buy beer. Being able to go down to the corner store to get not even a six pack, to get a four bottles of beer was a luxury that a lot of people could only enjoy maybe once a month or once every few months when they nickel and dime enough to save up for that. So you finally nickel and dime, and you go down to the corner store, and then you buy four bottles of beer and bring them home. Well, obviously the store didn't have refrigeration as well, so the beer you bought would at best be room temperature. But m- most people don't like to drink their beer that way. So what are you going to do with that? How are you going to cool it down without ice chest, without ice? Well, here is the wisdom of the old days. Most people had a well in their yard where they get their drinking water and bath water and all that stuff. I still remember, like even when I was growing up, we never had to pump water from the well, but I've been to countryside. Like my grandparents, they owned a farm, and I've been to their farm, and they still had a well, and I was shown how the whole pump work. You know how you pump water from the well, and then you get a bucket and get get buckets of water, stuff like that. It wasn't until I was maybe 7 or 8 years old that my grandparents' farm got updated and have like proper running water, but they still kept the well just to show kids how things were like in the old days. So that was an interesting thing to experience, to pump water and fetch water from the well. So in the old days, almost every family would need to at least have a well in their yard. Uh, when you build a house or build a shack, a lot of times it wasn't even a house. You need to learn how to dig a well. Otherwise, you don't have water. Now, obviously, not everybody can dig down deep enough to find water. A lot of people end up with dry well as well. So what happened in those cases is there are actually places in town, there are water stores. Nowadays you don't see water stores anymore. Now you just buy bottled water from the supermarket. But in the old days, they actually have specialized stores that you go and carry water, or if you pay them extra, they'll deliver, let's say, 2 buckets of water to your house every day and dump it into your well to make sure that you have some water for use. And so that's how some people kept their well stocked with water. And because the wells were underground, uh, the temperature generally very low, so well water was generally very cold. So, after you come home with 4 bottles of lukewarm beer, what you want to do is you put them in a mesh bag. Yeah, like the kind of mesh bags that you see today that people put their stockings and lingerie in when they put them in a washer. So you put your beer in a mesh bag. Make sure it's nice and secure. Okay, you just spent your 3 months of saving to buy this beer. You got to make sure it's nice and secure. Make sure the bag is secured properly, that the bottle is not going to fall out. And then you tie a big, long rope onto the bag. Make sure, again, knot it nice and tight. If this come loose and your bottle end up at the bottom of your well, you're going to smack yourself really hard and probably be very, very sad about it. So make sure you tie the rope nice and tight to the bag, and then you lower the bag into the well, tie the other end of the rope to the side of the rim of the well, and then you leave it there and come back tomorrow and pull it out, and you have nice, almost ice cold beer. And that's how a lot of people were able to enjoy cold beer in those old days. Now, I was told by quite a few old timers that this was how honest people had was able to enjoy cold beer. But what about people who just couldn't enjoy and couldn't afford beer of their own? What about people that just too poor or too lazy and too underhanded and uh, they didn't want to buy their own beer, too cheap, you know? Well, that's when they developed the whole system on how to go around and steal beer from other people. And it's quite interesting. It's not as direct as you might think. Like when when I was told that people were going around stealing beer from other people, I was just thinking, okay, so I wait until the person go to sleep. I go to their well. I pull the beer out of their well and go home with it. That's it, right? Well, I hate to say it, but that's kind of like how white people will steal beer. uh, but Chinese people had it down to an art. Okay, it's quite involved and complicated. So let's look at that. So let's say, uh, let's say I want to steal beer from my neighbor's well. What would I do if I was a Chinese person from the old days? Well, I first need a very essential tool. I need an iron ring uh, that specially forged to almost be the same size as the cap of the beer bottle. Eh? It have to be a little bit larger so it can kind of fit over, but it can't be too loose that it will slip down easily. It have to just fit over the cap of the bottle. Okay, so just that little tool, that little steel ring, going to cost you a bit of effort and energy to try to find a forge and find someone who can make one for you. Luckily, in the old days, a lot of people were very handy with tools and fire and forging metals and stuff like that. So finding something like that wasn't very difficult. Okay, so now you got your little ring of power. What do you do with that? Well, keep listening and you'll find out. So I got my little ring of power. Then I'm going to wait until evening time. Before I go to bed, I'm going to fill myself up with water. I'm going to drink a lot of water. Why? Because drinking a lot of water before going to bed is a healthy thing to do. No, I mean, it is, but that's not why I would do it. Okay? I would drink a lot of water so I'm certain that I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night to have to go pee. Okay? This is an improvised alarm system. Okay? It's a very, very cool way of setting an alarm on your biological self, assuming you don't pee the bed. Uh, I mean, in the old days, no one really had alarm, and even if you did, I mean, you wouldn't really want to set it in the middle of the night because you are going to wake up the whole household, and they're going to wonder what the hell are you doing going out so late at night. So how do you make sure that you wake up? You drink a lot of water before you go to bed. This way, you'll be sure to wake up in the middle of the night. Okay? And also, this way you don't have to sit up half like again, if I think about how I would do this, not that I'm very criminally gifted or anything. How I would do this, I would probably be sitting there and listening to see if they next door neighbor gone to bed yet. Can I go steal their beer? Oh God, I'm so tired. Oh no, no, I'm so tired. Aren't they going to bed yet? And I would fall asleep, and the next thing I know, I wake up. It's morning already, and damn it, they they went and got their beer already. They're enjoying their beer, and I'm left with nothing because I fell asleep. Okay, these old timers, they were very sneaky. They were smart about it. They filled their belly up with water. They lay down, have a nice little nap, and then when they felt like they have to pee, that's when they woke up, and time is like midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning. Everybody's already sleeping, but because they had a nice little nap, now they're wide awake. Okay, so wide awake and armed with my little ring of power, I would go to the next door's yard and find the rope on the side of their well. And I would pull on that rope and carefully pull those beer out of the well. Make sure they don't clink together too loudly. You don't want to wake anybody up. And once you pull them out, what do? You go home with them and enjoy the beer? No, 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 no. Again, that's how white people would do it. Okay? Chinese people were more crafty about that. Uh, what you want to do is open the beer and drink about half of it. Right? Why half of it? Well, we'll get to that. But first, let's get the darn thing open. Well, a lot of people say, well, that's easy. You get a bottle opener, you get a knife, and then pop it open, and just like how you do it today. Well, there's a problem because we want that cap to fit back on later. Okay, we don't want to destroy that cap. Usually, when you use a bottle opener, that cap is all bent out of shape. There's no way you're going to get that thing back on. Okay, so in the old days, the old timers found a little sneaky way to open the cap without bending it all to hell. They take a long nail, like a screw or a nail, and then wedge it between, you know how the side of the beer cap, there's all those little notches? Yeah, so you take a nail and wedge it between each notch and pry it a little here, turn it, pry it a little here, turn it, pry it a little bit, turn it. So every notch you pry it a little bit, just a little bit. And this will make sure the cap open up evenly enough for you to take it off the bottle. Okay, so very, very uh, skill-oriented way to open the bottle there, just so you don't destroy the cap. Now that you got the beer open, you can sit back and enjoy half of it. Okay, half of it. Don't drink the whole thing. Okay, so let's say the person has four bottles of beer, then you drink half from each bottle, and then you fill it back up with water from the well. So now it still looks like beer, but half of it is water. Okay. Now you want to put the cap back on, but because you loosen the cap, so even though they'll go back on, it's not going to be tight. How are you going to make sure that it's tight and it look like a brand new bottle of beer? Well, this is where our little ring of power come into use. You take your ring of power and fit it over the top of the cap. Remember when I said it have to be just a teeny bit bigger than the cap, but not loose. So it have to fit over the top of the cap, but because you loosen up the cap, so now the ring is going to push up against those little edges that you pried open. So once you fit the ring over the cap, you take your hand and hammer on the top, boom, and the ring will push all those little notches back into their original shape, and that bottle of beer will look and feel just like brand new. Okay, so you do that after you drink half from the beer and fill it with water, and then you put the cap back on and use your little ring to smack the lid back into shape. You put beer back in the mesh bag and lower them back in the well, and now you got a belly full of beer. You can go back to bed. And next day, the person who the beer belonged to, they wake up in the morning, they go and check on their beer, they pull the beer out, everything look fine. They open out the beer and oh, the beer tastes kind of weak. Ah, goddamn corner store. They water down their beer again. Right? They're not going to think that it's their neighbor. They're not going to think it's you that's stealing their beer. They're just going to blame the corner store. Okay? If you do it like how most of us modern simpletons would do it, just takes a beer and run home with it. Well, then next day they obviously know someone stole their beer, and you being their next door neighbor, you're the biggest suspect. So this old way of stealing beer was sneaky, crafty, and in some ways kind of humane because you still left them with some beer. You only drank half of it, and you left them with some weak ass watered down beer, but at least they still got something. Um, so yeah, that's just a little example of how creative and underhanded and sneaky people have to go to enjoy a cold drink back in the 30s and 40s in China and Taiwan. I hope this episode at least makes you laugh a little and put a smile on your face, like it did when I first heard this story from the old timers. I'll be back again tomorrow for Toy Thursday. For now, 谢谢 and 再见。